I'm Everett Abrams, the Wizard of Wood, and today in this video we're going to talk about pressure treated pine or pine used in decking, both from a restoration standpoint and from decking as well, building. And what we want to talk about at first is, most of it is pine that we're dealing with. Pressure treated is not a type of wood, it's a process where the wood is injected to make it resistant to rot and decay. So most of the time we're dealing with pressure treated pine. It is pine that we're dealing with. So anyway, in regards to some of the characteristics we see in pine, it can be a really nice, beautiful wood because it has deep, darker grains that when applied to a sealer or a stain really accentuate that. It really stands out, really looks nice. Pine does have resins in it. Conifers and pines have resins. So what happens is you'll have sap that'll leach from the wood. This is a natural characteristic. There's nothing you can do about it. Best thing to do is to tell the customer that before you build the deck or before you're going to restore the deck, is to let them know about the resins. They will dissipate over time, they'll become less, but the true way to really get rid of a board that's leaching a lot of sap or resin is to actually replace the board. Now in regards to that, when we build a deck, we're using pressure treated prime and we use kiln dried. And there's a difference between that and just regular pressure treated that you see typically. And this is where we usually run into a lot of the problems with the resin. So what happens is, and as you can see, I'll show you on this board, this is just a regular piece of pressure treated. It's knotty. It has the pressure treated. You can see it actually has resins in it. If I flip the board over, this is where the resins will actually come out of and leach from. A lot of times you can tell that in the board ahead of time. This is a lot less money. People use it. A lot of people use pressure treated because of the budgetary reasons and the price. This, however, though, is not really good for both the decking and the restoration of it. So when we build a deck, we want to use pressure treated prime and kiln dried. And the difference being is you don't see any knots. It's just a nice board. I have one over here as well, so much larger board, and you can see there is not a knot in the board. It's beautiful. It's already kiln dried, so there won't be a lot of shrinkage in this either, whereas you will in this. I've seen a lot of these boards where they're even gapped and the shrinkage is unbelievable. So this, you don't get that. The other question you'll get a lot is, when do you stain pressure treated wood? And some people will wait a year. If you get kiln dried, we usually wait 3 to 6 months to seal or stain it. Some people are worried about shrinkage in the wood and they want to stain or seal or get something on it right away, and then know that they're going to do it pretty soon thereafter as well, that it won't last that 2 years plus that you might get out of another sealer or stain. But kiln dried prime will advance you down the road. With these, if you're not sure, like again, I say there's a big difference. You don't see the resins, the knots in it. It's nice and clear. When you look at the mill stamp, it'll say prime and it'll say KD for kiln dried. While we're talking about mill stamps on any wood, they don't come out naturally and they will get accentuated if you put a sealer on top of them. So you will want to sand those off. They don't come off with a pressure wash or anything. You would have to sand those off before you seal or stain. If you're going to sand, it's best to either feather it in or lightly sand the whole board, just so it'll look even and not a sanded spot when you seal. So kiln dried prime, really nice for building the deck. Really looks nice when it's stained or sealed. You'll have problems with resins if it's not prime. Warn the customer if you're going to restore the deck and they have this with knots and resins, what it's going to look like when it's completed. Let them know about the resins leaching. These are things you want to let the customer know ahead of time. When you seal pressure treated pine with a nice natural sealer or light tone, it really accentuates the grain. It looks beautiful. The one mistake a lot of people make, and we've talked about this before with cedar, if you have cedar and you put it natural, it looks like a cedar tone. When you put cedar on cedar, it's bright orange. So we don't want to do that with cedar. So what happens is, if we want our pressure treated to look like cedar, we can put a cedar tone on the pressure treated and it looks really nice. It doesn't look that overly orange look when you put cedar sealer on cedar wood. So to make pressure treated pine look like cedar, it really looks nice. You can use any other tone or color as well, but the grains really get accentuated. It's a nice look to the wood. Again, most people use it for budgetary reasons because of the price, but I would say if you spend a little bit more and you get the pressure treated prime, get it kiln dried, you'll be much happier and it'll be much easier to take care of in the future. Hope that helps you with a little bit of information on pressure treated pine decking, both from a building standpoint a little bit and from a restoration standpoint.